Please welcome Kathryn Barker.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to do this. I had no idea when I was sitting in the back of the room there 12 months ago that I'd be up here, and it's been fantastic actually just to take stock and reflect and go, actually, I know I've worked incredibly hard over the last year, harder than I think in every other year in my life. I really feel it, I'm knackered, but it's been well worth it, and I've achieved what I set out to do on Mastermind, and I know that if I've done it, anybody really can do it, whatever strategy you pick on and you fix to. So my journey on MM10, the timing was really right for me. I had worked in the corporate world all my life. I joined the airports company, BAA, about 150 years ago, it feels like. And I worked for them for 18 years. The company reorganized, and in 2007, I was offered the opportunity to come up to the Midlands and take a senior role working for a company up in the Midlands. And I moved my whole family, my husband who was working in London, my children out of their schools. We've been living very happily in Brighton, very lovely. But this opportunity for me to take this job came up, and we moved in 2007. And then in 2010, only 3 years afterwards, another big corporate shake-up, and I was made redundant. So, kids not very happy about that, being moved, you know, why do we move, blah, blah, blah. And then I hadn't anticipated that the same thing would happen to my husband in 2011. So there were very few hairy months when we were both at home, not with a job, and the children were very disconcerted. My 15-year-old daughter, how are we going to afford for me to go to university, and blah, blah, blah. And it was really quite hairy. So, you know, I knew I had to do something. I'd already got 3 buy-to-let flats, not really earning very much money out of those. I'd got a student let, which was really initiated by a colleague of mine, and not really generating a lot of income at that time, although it is now. And a holiday let that was really a liability, not an asset, not really even covering its costs, although, again, it is now, partly thanks to this programme. So that really gave me, you know, an imperative to make an income from property, and I'd got together some capital, partly from the redundancy payments and the decision to invest those in capital rather than just live off them. Some family borrowing I've JV'd with my dad, which has been lovely in terms of our relationship. And I've also remortgaged our family home and taken some equity out of that in order to invest. And I've had the time, obviously, without having a job, to really focus on this. So my strategy, HMOs, we've already heard about those. I mean, from an income point of view, if your goal is income, then obviously, you know, that's the way to go. I've started with sort of slightly smaller properties, 4 to 5 lettable rooms, and then over the course of my journey, I'm looking at bigger properties that, you know, do cash flow more. For me, close to home, so within 30 minutes, that's what I've been looking for. I've been I'd already identified as well that, you know, my background is professional, and so I can relate to professional tenants, know what they want, so that's been my market. I've been purchasing through agents, repossessions, deceased estates, fire sales, you know, things needing a quick sale, and mostly requiring full refurbishment. I've been financing through sort of high street buy-to-lets and then remortgaging quite quickly using commercial finance. I've developed a very good relationship with Lloyds and developing a sort of line of credit with Lloyds, and they're not bound by the 6-month rule, so you're able to refinance much more quickly. So my first property, just a few examples in these slides. This is the first one I purchased through Mastermind. Quite a small sort of terraced house. It was originally on the market for about 170, but it needed a quick sale because of bankruptcy, divorce, personal situation of the seller. I was able to buy it really quickly and get the money to them before they actually did go bankrupt. So I bought it for 135, so quite a bit of equity in there. I only spent 7,000 on this property, partly because I did a lot of the work myself, believe it or not. Actually, you know, there was one point I was sweeping with a dustpan and brush underneath of the builder while he was knocking down a wall, and, you know, really kind of got stuck into it myself. And I know you're not supposed to do that, but I really did want to get this property turned around quite quickly. So I just really focused on making that into an HMO by partitioning the lounge, redecorating and putting in smoke alarms and fire doors, and refinanced that with Lloyds. I was able to get all my money back out of that property plus an additional 1K, which covered the legal costs. And that, you know, it's not a fantastic cash flow from what, you know, some of the properties that we've looked at before. You know, cash flows at about 500, but for my first deal, you know, I was quite happy with that, and I got all my money back. Interestingly, with this one, I'd got the tenants lined up to move into it before it was actually ready, and there was a bit of delay on it. So I actually had 2 of the tenants living in our family home while they were waiting for this property to be ready. So, you know, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. The second purchase was a deceased estate. It was a bit of more of a major refurb, so everything needed doing to this one, central heating, rewire, you know, everything. It was valued, I bought it at 125, it was valued at 185, post the work, spent about 20k on it. And that's cash flowing a bit better, about 750 a month I get from that property, and turned it from a really quite, you know, grotty old house into, you know, quite a nice, very nice place actually to live. Completely new kitchen, knocked through into the utility room, and I have no, you know, this property will rent, you know, and really, you know, quite good rents at that. My nicest house so far, I'm sort of going up in scale in terms of value, because as Steve said before, you know, the nicer the property, the higher the higher you can command in terms of rent. This property was originally on the market for 250. I bought it for 205. It's right opposite the Jaguar Land Rover plant in Solihull, so I can get real premium rents for that property. So that's cash flowing at about 1,000 a month after all the costs, and the scope for me to convert the garage and extend this property to the side. So I want to put 2 en-suites to that property, and with the relaxation of the planning laws, I can actually get more space without having to go through the planning process, so that's really good news. All I've had to do to this property, I've got really there's some more properties in between the other 2 and this one, really quite tired of constant refurbishment. So this one was great because it actually didn't need any work doing to it. I just needed to furnish it, and I love that part of it, sort of choosing all the furniture. I'd got a tenant lined up to move into it the day I picked up the keys. So I'd been advertising it before. He moved in the day I got the keys to this property. The first time he used the shower, it leaked into this lovely kitchen below, completely sort of wiped out the ceiling and the wall. And it turned out that the work that had been done to the pipe work behind these tiles in the shower hadn't been soldered together properly, and it just all came apart. So the tenant having moved, the whole thing had to be redone. So, you know, that's the kind of thing, it's very difficult even on a survey to spot. But if you've done the work yourself or had someone good to do the work, you know that's not going to happen. If you bought a property where the work's been done, you know, there is that risk, I suppose, that it hasn't been done properly. So buyer beware. But anyway, it's working very well now. This property, again, sort of going up in terms of my level of courage about what to take on. The Holly's Guest House, this was actually put on the forum. Elaine Rogers isn't here, actually, but you saw it, didn't you? Yeah, it was on the forum, and I looked at it initially as an HMO because ensuite rooms do command a premium rent. A guest house has ensuite rooms, so I had thought I would turn this into an HMO. But having looked at it, it was working quite well as a guest house, and I'd actually met a couple who were working well below their level of capability. She was cleaning for £7 an hour. He was doing handyman work. They'd done a bit of work for me. And I thought this was potentially a really good opportunity for them to improve their quality of their lives and do some work, you know, for me. They were living in this grotty flat in Erdington in Birmingham. So they've taken it on. They're living there. We've got an arrangement where I pay them part salary and part profit share, so they've got an incentive to make this work as a business. And they're working incredibly hard, and they're loving it, and it's a really good win-win for both of us. It was originally on the market for 450, this property. It was valued, I got a commercial valuation with Lloyds at 370. I was able to buy it for 285, and I've got a loan from Lloyds for 245. So I've got some money stuck in that, but once the income is proven, I think I can refinance and get the majority, if not all of that money back out. business has been going really well. It's mainly contractors and leisure. Some business via the local authorities. So I've had a family living there 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, and the local authority has been paying £105 a night. I mean, it's given me about £3,000 worth of income for a month. You know, so in the sort of scheme of what was, you know, cash flow per month, it's actually been very, very profitable. And although it's not on the doorstep of the NEC, it's actually not that far, so I can do special deals for masterminders coming here. I can do you a £27.50 a night, better than the Travel Lodge, and we'll even throw in breakfast for that. And it's nice, it's very nice. It's, all the rooms are themed by colour, so we have a green room and a blue room and an orange room, and the en-suites all match, and I've put flat screen TVs in all the rooms now, and it's a lovely property, very, very nice property, so that's been going well. Summary of my numbers. Here's my sort of purchase price. I have achieved the Mastermind goal of £1 million worth of property, and I've thank you. And I've also got equity post-valuation. Those valuations are actually reasonably conservative given, you know, the additional value that I've added, and, you know, my refurb costs have been quite realistic. So after all those costs, oh, and I've also got a rent-to-rent property in Birmingham, which is giving me about £1,000 a month, just over. So if I add all that together, that's actually giving me beyond the 50,000 of income, so I'm probably around 70 plus worth of income, which is fantastic. So, thank you. Oh, so what I've gained from Mastermind, I've got an income again, which is just fantastic. My daughter can go to university, we'll have food on the table. So, that's what it was kind of all about really, sort of initially. But the people on this program, absolutely fantastic, and such a refreshing change from corporate life. I first thought coming on this that the people would be really ruthless and commercial and quite sort of, you know, selfish in their approach, but the generosity of the people, and that's down to Simon's kind of ethos around this, just amazing. And this power of the win-win, looking for opportunities for other people and then benefiting from those yourself, it's just amazing. And I've just really loved turning those horrible, neglected homes into really nice places for people to live. And one of my tenants said, living in this house is like living in an episode of Friends. It's wonderful. I think, well, I created that, you know, that community, and I love that. So my top tips, be really clear about your purpose. And I mean the purpose beyond making money. I mean, this was a means to an end for me because I really needed that income having lost my job. But what energizes you. So I love that transformation of a property. I love finding, you know, being able to put people into a home where they're happy, and I really like that. That really motivates me. Taking action, everyone will keep saying that, but you've got to do your due diligence. You've got, what's the worst that can happen if I make a mistake? Do all of that, but then, you know, take the plunge and just keep moving forward. I know you're not supposed to manage your own properties yourself. You know, I've done it. I'm sick of it. I'm definitely not going to be doing it going forward. But just getting your hands dirty initially is not a bad thing, because you know the business you're in. And then you need to step back up. I've been operating in many areas below my level of capability over the last year by doing stuff that's, you know, I know I can, you know, use my time better, but I know the business now and I can step back up again and generate that sense of urgency. So advertising your properties before, and then you've got to be ready because you've got people that want to move in, so it really keeps the momentum going. Get help, get people to support you, and run it as a business, you know, from the corporate world. I don't really like all that stuff about mission, values, systems, goals, measures, but actually that's what you need to run a successful business. So that will be my focus going forward. So I've got another property coming through. I'm getting someone to help me. I'm starting to consolidate this as a business now, and then I'll have time for my family again. I want to do some professional work, and I want to do some voluntary work. I've signed up for the Citizens Advice Bureau, so people are really struggling in this economic climate, so I want to do what I can to help other people too. So thank you very much.
Kathryn Barker! Thank you, Kathryn. Well done.